Hello Australia, welcome to episode 713 of The Couch. We have got a big show today. Club Fiesta's performing for us. You'll love what they do. I even perform with them at the in the promo later too. Stay tuned for that one. Tim Banfield's coming in. We're going to be talking about real estate and property. He's part of the Department of Commerce, and Consumer Watch is the segment. Nisha will be with him today. Made on the Left Christmas markets are coming up. We're talking to Vanessa Lombardo. She's one of the people who has a stall there. She's also a great artist. We'll talk about that very soon. Talking streaming with Paul Elwin. We'll look at all the streaming devices, all the shows that are coming up, and movies as well. Later on, the Bitchin' team is here. Chris Ilsley, Jen Merrigan, and we've also got Sharon Atwood. We're going to look at the stories that everybody else is talking about in the news. And Tim Kearney is coming in. He's a bit of a bartender. He's telling us why ice is so important in making cocktails. So it's a big couch. Hope you can stick around. 7:13 starts now.
It's showtime on the couch. It's showtime on the couch. You can see it from your house. You can see it from your house. It's showtime on the couch with Fred and the best in town. You can see it from your house. Yeah, it's showtime on the couch. Oh, oh, oh.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. It is a pleasure to have you watching us in New South Wales and in Victoria. Restrictions are changing, which is great. Well done, New South Wales. Hopefully we can maybe look at what you're doing right and have it happen over here. You never know. Our Premier may like the way you're doing it. Thank you very much for watching in Canberra as well, and all around Australia, Queensland, Tasmania, and in the Northern Territory, and Alice Springs. Everywhere, in fact, and here in Perth. Thank you. Now, let's get on with the show. Nisha's got a very special guest. We're talking property, real estate, with the Tim Banfield. He's from the Department of Commerce. He's the Director of Properties and Industries. Nisha's got him on the couch.
Wonderful. Thank you, Fred. It's been fantastic having various representatives from the Department of Mines, Industry, Regulation and Safety. Consumer Watch is obviously a very important service to the public.
Absolutely.
And this segment has been great in providing some education and awareness around that. So, Tim, thank you for joining us today. How are you feeling?
Yeah, doing very well, thank you.
That's great. Tim, today it's a really important topic for a lot of people at the moment because the market is hot, isn't it?
It is. The property is booming at the moment. The property market's actually been increasing probably about 18% in the metro area, and then in the country areas up to 20% as well. What we're seeing though is that this is putting a lot of pressure onto buyers to rush through, and what we want to do is to get them to take a little bit of time, do some preparation early, and so as their reviews, make sure that they're actually looking at all the finance clauses, everything they need to know before they actually sign a contract.
Yeah, I know that when we're under pressure, the preparation is pretty tough. So I guess for our audience who go for a house that they really like, and then all of a sudden there's like, maybe 20 offers where there might have been 10.
That's right.
They're getting the pressure.
That's right. And this sort of thing is been around for a little while. But because it's a seller's market, what we don't want them to do is get so pressured that they make mistakes that they're going to regret later. And some of the things that we want them to do as far as looking at their finances, make sure that they know what they can borrow, that they're not overextending themselves as far as what they can borrow. But one of the things that we want them to be very mindful of is that there's no cooling off period in Western Australia. So when you do get to the point of signing an offer and acceptance contract, it's very difficult to back out at that stage. So you need to actually know that what you've asked for in there, special conditions, that the property is the value that it is, and that you actually understand what the material facts are of the property.
Yeah, and you've had, I guess, in terms of information from customers calling Consumer Watch, what are some of the concerns, tell me, at that point if you don't pay attention at this stage?
Absolutely, and oftentimes it is because it's at the end when we get the complaints is that settlements have been delayed. And what we're finding the delay is about is that they're not actually doing their inspections early enough. And what they're doing is at the end they're finding mistakes or faults with the property and then delays in the settlements because they're asking for those to be repaired.
So it takes a really long time at that stage to make the changes.
It does. And one of the things that we want them to do is to be mindful that when they're making their offers, that the real estate agent actually works for the seller. And the seller, obviously they want to get the best price they can, but at the same time, the real estate agent still has a duty to be fair and honest. So they will help the buyers to a certain extent, but there's certain conditions that you should be putting in anyway into your offers. And if you're buying a property and you're getting finance, one of the things that you must do is you must actually include on the offer and acceptance form the part where it says, is finance applicable? You need to tick and say yes, and then put the name of the lender in there. Because one of the problems we're finding is that if they just leave that blank, you could be forced to go into just any lender and take any loan, regardless of what the conditions are. It may not be conducive.
So you lose the right to select unless you put the name of the institution.
Well, you can still select, but the difficulty is they can make you keep going. And if you have the one, if that one doesn't work out, then generally speaking, that's when the offer doesn't go through.
Wow. Now, you're a whole mammoth of information. Where do people actually find out more? Can you call Consumer Watch and have a discussion with anyone or find resources on?
Absolutely.
Line?
Now, our website has got a lot of information on buying and selling properties. And so you can go to consumerprotection.com.au, and there's a checklist in there, particularly about the property inspection. Those checklists are very useful in there. And some of the things that we've also do is there's other publications that we put out, particularly about material facts. And one of the things I really wanted to point out is that material facts are important for buyers to know. Now, this is where they...
So what are material facts, just for some of our
That's
audience
a very
that
good
maybe
question.
not bought a house yet?
Because there's no real definition of what a material fact is. It's different for everybody.
Yes.
And what it is something that's important for that person that would convince them to either buy or not buy. And so material fact could be one of those things that, like if a property is subject to a road widening. And those are the sort of things the buyers would want to know if they actually don't want to buy that property because it's going to be resumed.
Yeah.
So those are the sort of things that a real estate agent ought to inquire about and find out about. But what we want to do is encourage sellers to tell real estate agents up front, what are the material facts? What are the things that affect my property?
Yeah, wonderful. So all of these areas to focus on can be found on your website.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Fantastic. Look, there's a number of key areas I think there that are very important. I know that Fred's had a fair bit of experience in this arena, and I think he has got a couple of questions. Do you, Fred?
Tim, if you don't mind me asking, I've just recently purchased a house off a plan, and I know we're sort of talking about more buying a house already built, but it is really confusing out there because I've never done this before, and I've learnt so much in 6 months. The delays, the costs, the variations that come up. A question for you, and this is just general, and I think it affects a lot of people. When you sign a contract to build a property, say it gets delayed and the building company decides to put up the bill by $2,000, is there anywhere where we're protected as the customer where they can't put up the costs just randomly? And it seems to me, looking at the HIA, Housing Industry Association contract, it's all in the favour of the builders in most cases. Is that something that Department of Commerce is looking at? And I know we've got a building commission that looks after all that.
Absolutely. Now, Consumer Protection actually joins with the Building Commission. We are the industry regulation group. Now, one of the things that we do know is that the fixed term contract for building does stipulate what the price will be, but it does allow the builder to have some variations in it because there's some things that's just out of the control of the builders. Like one of the things that we all realize is when the pandemic hit, there was a lot of, when we closed the borders, you couldn't get trades in and you also couldn't get materials in. So some of these delays actually aren't at the fault of the builders, and so the contracts do allow for that. Okay. Now, there are a lot of complaints that the Building Commission are working through with these, and they are working through most of those. And we put out some publications about that, and just to be mindful and be aware that this could happen.
So I always say to people when I give advice, I say read everything very carefully. But the other thing that gets me, I agree with you that things are out of their control. Sometimes builders have to put up the price. What happens to young people who say, for example, they borrow $250,000 and they've got no more money, and if things go up, how can they afford to find more money? What mechanisms are there to help those people, or there isn't anything?
Well, there's nothing in the contract itself, because when you sign the contract, you actually assign that you can afford to pay for that particular build of that property. And so, but I do understand that there's probably other mechanisms available that can help with these sort of things. But the builders themselves are a good source. You go to them and say, I can't afford it, and try to negotiate something with that particular builder. Because builders are human as well as
And I tell you, one of the things that's concerned me is where you want something different in your house. Say, for example, I want a different light fitting. It isn't that easy. No. Anything you want, they call it a variation, and it's usually double the price of what the original was.
That's right.
Is that something that maybe one day we'll have some sort of regulation that maybe gives us a little bit more safety or security as a client?
Well, I would hope so, but I think one of those things is that when you sign a contract, things change. The builder contracts things in place, and they actually go and they buy those materials ahead of time, and that's one of the reasons why they do sort of frown upon having changes at the last minute. But that's cost them, and so there's a little bit of to and fro. I'd like to see a little bit more fairness in that sort of thing. Yes, but
no, look, there's a lot that we can't talk about today, but the best thing, I guess, is to go back to your website and get in contact with that number, the 1300 number. Absolutely. And ask the Department of Commerce for information. They are very good. I've had to ring them a few times, and it's even if it just gives you a direction of where to go. Sometimes if you've never built before, you're lost because the builder won't give you advice against themselves, and sometimes the actual customer's left on their own saying, what do I do now? So it's great to have your service there. Sorry, Nisha, back to you.
That's okay. So looking at just as a bit of a recap, I think the checklist is on the website.
Absolutely.
Which is really important, and the material facts you just mentioned is really important to be across. Maybe some of the things that the real estate agent won't tell you.
Yes, those are the sort of things that where real estate agents must tell you.
Yeah.
And we've actually taken a couple of proceedings against real estate agents just recently where they haven't disclosed those material facts, and where they were actually charged and fined in the State Administrative Tribunal. One was for a garage that encroached into the other his neighbour's property. The other was for a vacant block of land where there's sewage lines that were there that weren't disclosed, and so they were a bit of a problem for the buyers after the fact. And so when you don't disclose material facts, the buyer is actually out of pocket.
Wow, so the preparation is so important. Just
Absolutely.
Before we go today, something that's really important that we need to cover is protecting yourself from being scammed. So we've had Gary talk to us about Flubot and malware, but we know that how clever this organised crime of cyberspace is that we need to be really mindful around that settlement period when we're passing over a large amount of funds. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct. Now, this is because what's happening is more and more in real estate, we're dealing with through emails and other electronic means, and particularly we're also doing electronic fund transfer. Now, what we're talking about now is payment redirection scams. Now, this is because we have such a reliance on emails and this electronic communications, scammers know this, and they actually prey on it. So what they do is they intercept, they involve themselves into the email, and next thing you know, you're paying the scammer, you're not paying the settlement agent. And so what we're asking people to do is just to be very mindful and to be skeptical and cautious, but at the same time, you need to do some manual steps to protect yourself. Now, one of the things you should be doing is asking your real estate agent, your settlement agent, what cyber security software they have and what processes they have in place. Now, if they don't have these sort of facilities in place, then you need to really think about using old school and phone and going into the office and this sort of things.
Wonderful. Look, there is so much there that is, I think, really critical for people to know. Unfortunately, we're sort of wrapping up on time. Yep. However, what's really important, obviously, like you mentioned, is that there's great resources available on your website. Your website is consumerprotection.wa.gov.au, and recommending the checklist, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, wonderful. And also the number there is 1300 304054, or you can email consumer at dmirs.wa.gov.au. And of course there's Scamnet as well, which Gary mentioned on the last show, scamnet.wa.gov.au as well. Look, it was an absolute pleasure, Tim, to have you on the show. You've got so much information there, and hopefully we get to see you again.
I look forward to next time.
Fantastic. If you have any other additions for our show, please do come on very soon.
Will do.
If you've missed any of that at all, of course, you can go to our Facebook page or also to thecouch.com.au. But for now, it's back back to you, Fred.
Thank you, Nisha, and thanks to Tim. You did very well for your first appearance. I reckon Gary's got a bit of competition there. Don't forget the Department of Commerce, of course. The links are on their website for all the different services they have, but that number, the 1300 number, very important. Time for us to do a little bit of exercise now. Club Fiesta's in the house. Let's go over to Hala.
Thank you so much for having us, Fred. Hi, everyone. My name is Hala, and we're from Club Fiesta. So Club Fiesta is a brand new program that's happening in gyms all around Australia for the last couple of years. It is a Latin, Afro, and international dance-based exercise workout. Hopefully, you can join us in the Pride Parade on the 27th of November. And we make sure you head to our website to check us out. And it's clubfiesta.com.au. And we're going to be starting the show with a Fiesta mashup. I hope you guys can join us. Thank you so much for having us, Fred.
Be over this by now. Yeah, it's been too long since we got crazy. I'm lucky spinning out. I'm counting down till Friday come. I'm gonna do too much. No, I'm all in my bag, that's clutch. Feeling it, feeling it, feeling it. Every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, endless weekend on a wave. Yeah, weekend. It's Friday then. It's Saturday, Sunday. It's Friday then. It's Saturday, Sunday. And then I picture all the perfect that we lived, till I cut the strings on your tiny violin. My mind's got a mind of its own right now, and it makes me hate me. I'll explode like a dynamite if I can't decide, baby. My head and my heart are torturing me. Yeah, lost my mind in your arms. I've gone to extremes. Yeah, when angels tell me run and monsters call it love. My head and my heart are caught in between. Yeah, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la. Tell me yes or no. Asking the heavens, should I stay or should I go? You held my hand when I had nothing left to hold, and now I'm on a roll. My mind's got a mind of its own right now, and it makes me hate me. I'll explode like a dynamite if I can't decide, baby. My head and my heart are torturing me. Yeah, lost my mind in your arms. I've gone to extremes. Yeah, when angels tell me run and monsters call it love. My head and my heart are caught in between.
Well done. Thank you very much to the ladies from Club Fiesta. Now, they're at a gym near you. If you love what they do and you want them to be at your gym, go to their website, contact Hala and the team, and they'll organise it for you. We'll have them at the end of the show with another fantastic dance number, local, 100% made in Perth, and they are local people and we do local television. Talking about local people, local television, Made on the Left, Christmas markets are coming up 2021. With us in the studio today, we've got a representative. Her name is Vanessa Lombardo, and she's from Little Art House. Thanks for coming in, Vanessa.
Pleasure.
Nice to have you here. Now,
Thank you,
tell
Fred.
us a little bit about you. I know you're an artist, but tell the people at home a little bit about Vanessa.
Well, I've been working as an artist since I was about 19 because I kind of wasn't very good at anything else. It took me to some pretty exciting places. I used to travel quite a lot before I had children. I used to do a lot of regional kind of workshops working with people in the community, which was super fun. Loved every second of it. After I had kids, it wasn't quite so easy to sort of leave for 10 weeks at a time. So I decided to open up my own little art school. So that's been running for a long while now.
Where is Little Art House?
It's about 5 minutes from
Up the
here.
road. In Leederville, is it?
In Mount Hawthorn.
Mount Hawthorn, just up the road.
So I've got I've got a little old shop out the front of the house,
Yep,
which is
beautiful.
actually, to be honest, the only reason why I can operate in many ways.
Yeah, well, you can do it from home.
So the kids
makes
can
it
come and I've got the space, so it's really
And
super fun.
Before we go on to the Made on the Left, what can we expect to see in your shop?
Oh, in my actual stall, yes, I don't really sell artwork from my shop so much. It's really loaded with
display.
kids' crazy artworks.
Yep.
And then I quietly on the side try and get some of my work done. So that's at the stall. I've got lots of different prints. I've actually been rediscovering printmaking, which has been so much fun. And
Now,
I've
these are the prints that I've got here, aren't they? So I
Yeah,
can actually hold
so
them
that's
up
that's
to
an
camera.
etching.
That's an etching.
Yeah.
Now, when you say they're prints, what can you do with these? What can people do with
Well,
these?
I haven't actually framed those because they are on really beautiful archival
Have I got it up
paper.
the right way?
Yeah, that's actually the right way around.
Thank you.
And yeah, I've only just started printing those up, so I
that's one
haven't
of
quite
them.
gotten to the
And that's
framing
another one.
stage.
Am I holding it up right?
Yeah, that's
Beautiful.
right. So they are
Beautiful colour.
printed using the medium of etching, and just here is the
And
actual
I've got
copper
these.
plates.
I'm going to just hold these. I know
they're
people probably can't
gonna look
see a
really
lot,
weird. Yeah.
but I'm just holding it on until there you go. We can see it on the screen. So what are these?
So what happens is you literally you create the plate
The image.
by using a special ground, and then you kind of scratch into the ground that's
Yep.
on the surface of the plate. Stick it in some basically hydrochloric acid, or actually not hydrochloric acid, but it's a
We used to do that
copper
at school.
version.
We used to
yeah,
call that
there's
etching.
a lot less nasty version now, which is what I've been doing.
Safer option.
And the art teacher's going to be really cross at me for not remembering the name of the actual
all right.
acid. And then once it's done, you push ink into those little tiny gaps and put it through
And
a
you can
press,
print it.
and then it comes out.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
Now
on the
let's
paper.
talk about the markets.
Sure.
They're happening very soon. Now I've got it here, 31st,
Yep.
31st, and at 10 a.m. Is it October 31st
It's
or
the
just
30th and 31st.
both dates?
Yep.
And that's from 10 to 5 p.m.
Yep.
Entry is free. That's the greatest thing about it.
Yes.
Now at those markets, I'm going to touch on some of the things that are there,
Yeah.
and then you can maybe elaborate.
Yeah.
So we've got handmade clothing,
Yep.
accessories made from vintage. What does that mean?
Oh, there's all sorts of bespoke, amazing things. Yeah, there's actually a guy called the Brick Guy.
Yeah.
So he basically takes bricks and kind of moulds them into interesting shapes,
Wow.
and then puts succulents into those.
Some creative
there's
art.
really amazing
Retro
stuff.
and unique fabrics.
Yes, there's a beautiful storeholder by the name of Sad Jane.
Yes.
She is so cool, and I really should be wearing one of her dresses right now, and I feel bad that I'm not. 'cause
Illustration art.
That's kind of me and about 4 or 5 other amazing artists. One of my favourite is a woman by the name of Hannah Mayer. So Spontaneity is her stall, and she's a lino. She does lino cuts, handmade, teeny miniature brooches.
creative stuff,
This
isn't
is
it?
actually one of hers.
We probably can't see
Yeah,
it on
no,
camera, but
it's just
yeah,
a little
look, it looks
teeny
wonderful.
weeny mini
that's
easel.
illustration. Now, open original canvas prints are happening as well,
Yep.
which we I think we've got some here as well.
Yep.
We've also got the dynamic watercolour masterpieces. What's that?
There's a lot of people doing. Oh, Alana Williamson. She is a gorgeous local young emerging artist, and that would be a great way to
Watercolour.
describe
What a
her
wonderful
work.
idea.
Yeah.
Timber homeware, luxury candles, and uniquely handcrafted gemstones.
Yes.
And we've got precious metal jewellery as
Yes.
well. Now, tell me what's behind the markets. What was the reason for bringing? Because you've been a part of it for a long time.
Yeah, long while.
Why was this developed? What was the reason they were created?
I think
What
there
are we
was a
trying to
bit of a,
achieve?
there was a bit of a lack of local happening in Perth at the time, and it was, I think the first market was 2008. So it was super exciting when a bunch of, I think it was about 4 or 5 artists got together and decided to start the market, and it's kind of taken off from there. I mean, we are flooded with a lot of online opportunities, a lot of international work, and that's actually gorgeous as well. But it's lovely to be able to have local
Well,
artists
that's it, isn't it,
show
Vanessa?
their work.
We're talking about now more than ever with COVID and everything else. Perth's passionate and creative community come together for these handmade, a lot of them are personal items, and they're loving it that it's coming from WA. They're all local artists, local displays, local items of purchase, gemstones, jewellery, candles, all made here in WA. We'd love people to support it. Christmas is around the corner. We'd love to use this market as maybe your early Christmas present buying. Is that right?
Absolutely.
So we've got a website. We've got it there again on the screen. It's the 30th and 31st of October. It's going to be at the Esplanade Park Marine Terrace in Fremantle. It starts from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. The entry is free, like we said, and we'd love you to come and support it. They started in 2008, so they've been around a long time. The website, for those people who want more information, is www.madeonTheLeft.org.au. And can I tell people as well, they're not for profit. It's not about making money, so they're not a business. It's basically a not for profit, helping local artists. And
It's actually for the love of local art.
Exactly. And it's really important. I don't know about you, Vanessa, but one of the things we do on the show is promote a lot of local people. Yeah. Very important that we do support our own people. And it's not about corporations and they can look after themselves, but it's about people like yourself.
Thanks,
and
Fred.
we do like to support you. There's a lot more that Vanessa can do for you. Please go down and catch her at the show. Now, you'll be there every day? The 2
I am
days?
there both days, yep.
Love to
and
see you
a
there.
lot of the store holders are, and some are just doing one day. So
It's
there's a lot
called
of
Made
variety.
on the Left Christmas Markets 2021, 30th and 31st of October. It is once again Esplanade Park, Marine Terrace in Freo from 10 to 5 p.m. Entries free. Thank you very much, Vanessa.
Thank you so much, Fred.
We'll catch you right after this break with more of the show. I think Paul's coming in to talk streaming. We'll see you then. Well done. Welcome back to the couch. Nice to talk streaming and movies with Paul Elwin. He's got Lost in Space in there.
Oh yeah, Lost in Space.
Paul, welcome back.
I'll put that last. But yeah, here's my current. There's so much streaming coming back now.
I know,
Some
isn't
of
it
them had
good?
a hiatus last year as well. So some of them left you on cliffhangers in 2019 for crying out loud. So now we've got about 7 new shows
We have got 7.
coming up. The first one we got is on Foxtel Binge,
Yep.
which is Succession. This is a huge drama. This is the 3rd season. Kind of weird. It's on Foxtel. It's all about a media mogul and his family, which is kind of a bit strange because it kind of reflects Rupert Murdoch.
Succession, huh?
It's Succession. Season 3 left us on
Is
a
it
cliffhanger.
based on anything real?
It's weird. It feels
You
like
think
it's
it might
based
be
on the
Rupert Murdoch?
Murdochs because it's a media empire.
Wow.
Huge names. We've got Brian Cox, Sarah Snooks in this. She's an Adelaide-born actor, and she sounds
her.
amazing in this one. American. Alan Rack, who was Cam in Ferris Bueller, he's in this as well. And also Matthew McFadden, who was Mr. Darcy in the Pride and Prejudice movie.
Okay.
Really good acting, big drama, and this one's starting now. And the usual, it'll be like weekly on Foxtel for season 3 of Succession.
Sounds
on
good.
Binge.
What do we got next?
The next one we got from SBS. SBS is really getting into a few
They
shows
are getting to
which
streaming.
like the History Channel, they're doing like historical ones, but a bit of drama in this one. This one is New Gold Mountain. This is a mini series of 4 episodes. You can currently watch this on SBS On Demand. This is post Eureka Stockade, gold mining. This is about the Chinese community. And in part of that history. But what happens is a white lady gets murdered, and we are looking at the other racial communities in that,
Oh, wow.
but mainly reflecting on the Chinese gold mining community, but like it's also a bit of a whodunit, who killed this lady.
Is it Australian?
Yeah, this is Australian production. This has Australian born actors in them and everything. Amazing, it looks amazing. This is a mini series of 4 episodes. Pretty cool, and it does have a bit of history in this one as well.
Fantastic.
Yep.
Now, looking
Gold
at the
Mountain.
next one, we've got You.
You. This is quite popular on Netflix. This is season 3 of You. the main guy, Penn Badgley, he plays Joe. He's originally from Gossip Girl, and the women think he's pretty hot. But the thing is, he plays in the first season 1 and 2. He's this like uber stalker kind of guy. Like he's fixated on people, and then finally by season 3, this season that's just started now, you can binge watch the whole thing on Netflix. He's actually now caught the woman that he was intrigued by in season 1. They're married and they're living in suburbia, and the whole thing is suburbia all it's cracked up to be? Is that life all it's cracked up to be? What's their family like? What are their neighbours like? His old habits of stalking and getting interested in people's lives is still happening.
Wow.
He's very strange character, but like he's like borderline mega obsessed with people.
This one's called You. Now,
You,
Paul, how
yes.
many times have you heard I Know What You Did Last Summer?
Well, back in the 90s, I heard that
All
quite a
the
lot,
time.
especially 97 when
The
the first
movie,
movie
the
came out.
series.
Following like the line of slashers like Scream, that sort of thing, this
Yep.
was a big thing. It had a sequel, which was okay. It had another sequel, a third number for it for the movies, which was pretty average. Amazon have taken all of this and said, well, by the way, there was an actual book in 1973. We can base it on that as well.
Oh.
So this is actually a full reboot on the whole
So it's
story.
not extending the story, starting
No,
all
it's,
over again.
It's all over again, like
reboot.
everyone's memory's been wiped, like Men in Black, and this is a whole new reimagining of it as a TV series. No one knows who the killer
Is it serious or is it a...
This one is nowhere near as
taking
funny
the
as the
mickey?
movie. This one is actually like full-on
Scary.
horror, scary, slasher
like
kind of
this.
thing. So for your Halloween, this is quite good. The first 4 episodes are up, and then they'll do it weekly from now on Amazon Prime.
Sounds
So,
good. What's
yeah.
coming up next?
The next one we got is Insecure, an amazing drama. This one's in its 3rd season, just starting now,
okay.
and this is the final season. This one is purely about the lives in California of a black American woman and her best friend. They both were like great friends in Stanford University. The main character is Isa and her friend is Molly. This is about their lives. Isa is actually quite fulfilled in regards to her career. She works at a non-for-profit helping kids at school. Her husband's a bit of a flake. He starts a dot-com startup. It fails and he's miserable. She's trying to work out what's wrong with him.
Doesn't everybody do that?
Her friend Molly is a corporate lawyer. She's actually high up on the career
Well,
thing,
there
but
you go.
her dating is abysmal. And they're trying to work things out. It's an interesting drama, but it's a comedy. Interesting factoid, all the music on this is amazing. Beyonce's sister
Oh, wow.
Solange did all the music direction for this
That'll be good.
series, and all the music in this
And
is
this
great.
is the final series
The
as well,
final
isn't it?
series of this,
Yeah.
which is wrapped up, and it's based on the lead actor. She wrote like a book all about her life, so this is a reflection on her
Now, I'm
life.
assuming
That's
the
Insecure.
next one is all about music. MTV Cribs?
MTV Cribs, not too much music,
No.
but we do have a few stars. MTV
Okay.
Cribs, this is the 18th season of it. I remember this. There used to be like controversies before.
So where did you watch
houses,
this before it all happened? 18 years ago.
80, no, they used to pump out like 2 or 3 seasons
Oh,
per
okay.
year. MTV
Yep.
went crazy like during the early 2000s with MTV Cribs. This is Nick Young, NBA superstar. But also during this season, if you catch it on Foxtel binge, Martha Stewart and Snooki's house are in this. And prior to previous controversies, these are actually their proper houses, because in the first few seasons there was some controversy that the houses that people were showing weren't actually theirs, but houses they were renting, or houses that people said, oh, they don't actually live in a house at the
Looks
moment,
good.
let's provide a house. These are their actual proper houses, and it's kind of fun to see like what superstars are sort of styling their homes.
Cribs,
MTV
that's out
Cribs,
right
it's
now
back,
on,
yes.
is that Netflix? No, that's Binge.
Binge,
Binge.
or Foxtel, as well.
Now,
Yeah.
this one here,
This is the big one.
warning, Will Robertson.
Danger,
oh,
Will Robertson. Oh.
the pain, Will Robertson. Now, this is the Lost in Space, the new version.
Yeah.
1, 2, and this is number 3, coming
This
out
is
in December,
season
isn't it?
3, December 1.
Yep.
This is the final season. They're wrapping
can't
everything up,
wait.
but the thing was in season 2, nearly over a year ago, they left us on pretty much a cliffhanger. The main cliffhanger being the evil or quasi-evil, or we don't even know Dr.
Well,
Smith.
what happened?
It's
Let me
Dr.
tell you.
Yeah.
The kids were put on a spaceship because
Yep.
the planet was going to blow up,
Jupiter 2,
and they
yes.
wanted to save all the kids. So they sent them off in a spaceship.
Yep.
All the talented Robinsons were on there,
Yep.
and I think Dr. Smith stuck on as well, as she always does. And
Yes.
and basically that's where it ended.
Yeah.
So we don't know if the parents are going to survive. We don't know if the kids and the parents are going to be reunited on that brand new planet. But I did see in the trailer, I noticed the robot's back.
Yes, it's like robot mayhem because there's the alien robots, the evil, are they evil
And
robots? We
I
can't tell.
spoke to the kid called Max.
Yes.
Maxwell, I can't remember his surname.
Yep.
But anyway, he's
He's
the
the
guy
youngest
that
Robinson.
plays Will Robinson.
Yeah, yep.
He was telling me that he's grown a lot, so people will notice he's quite tall.
Yeah,
So since they last
that
did it.
adolescent boost. All of a
Yeah,
sudden.
and he was just in a movie recently, the one about the boy that was coming out and he dies in the movie and
Yes,
his dad can't cope.
yeah, the Mark Wahlberg one.
That
yes,
one
yeah.
there. And so Lost in Space, I am looking forward to it.
It's
Do you have any more
huge
that you want to
because-
tell us about this one?
It's huge because they're going to wrap it up. But the thing I loved was
finished.
like everyone's going, Dr. Smith has to be back. It's on IMDb.
Jeez.
She's there. Parker Posey, who plays Doctor.
She's very
Amazing.
good.
But in the finale, like you just see the suit and you go, oh no. Yeah,
Well, like
come
I
on.
said to
there's gotta be
Paul
better.
in the break, I said she came on board as a murderer. She killed the real Dr. Smith.
Yeah.
She came on board to escape the planet to get away, and then she ends up being a villain.
Yeah.
And tries to sabotage everything as Dr. Smith did in the old series. Then they sort of isolated her and they arrested her basically.
Yeah.
And then they basically became friends with her because she saved their lives.
Yeah,
So
she
she's
has-
reformed.
She has an amazing arc because, like, you keep thinking, is she really that evil? And half the time you go, is she even qualified for
And
half
everyone
the
still
things she
calls her
does?
Dr. Smith, even though she's not anymore.
She's not even a doctor. Come on,
Fantastic,
guys.
Paul.
Yeah, very good.
Look forward to your final segment about movies in a couple of weeks' time. Paul Elwin, everyone, talking streaming and movies. We'll take a break, coming back with Bitchin' right after this. Well done. Welcome back to the couch. Always nice to do bitchin'. It's always a lot of fun this year, 2021. Nearly over, but they're here today. Let me introduce them from right to left of screen. We've got Sharon Atwood. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Nice to have you here. Now, you're a brand ambassador, brand PR. You can make someone's business sell and do a lot of profits, I guess, a lot more profit.
And particularly looking, from a business owner's perspective, how they stand out these days, because like we're saying, online and out and about, it's so important. So
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Chris Ilsley, of course, happy 90th birthday. You were part of 6PR for a very long time. 25 years, can I say?
No, 21 years.
21 years, but it felt like you were there 25.
1998 to 2020, actually.
Well, congratulations for being part of all of that. And we'd love to see you back one day. We hope people see you back on 6 or hear you back at 6PR. What have you been up to? I know you've been working with politicians.
Oh, mate, I've just been keeping myself out of trouble. Maybe I'll need to have a chat to
You
Sharon.
need to improve
maybe I
your
need
brand.
To do something about my brand.
Can you improve his brand, Sharon?
She's looked at
I'll
me and
get you out
gone,
there.
you've got
Putting
to
her
be
on the
kidding.
spot, she's saying,
he's very certain about what he is. So
do you want to go bankrupt? And of course, Jim Merrigan, do you reckon you could improve his brand by promoting him, maybe
No,
putting him on
there's
the
two
front
words,
page?
lost cause.
no.
Oh, I thought you were going to say get lost, but that's
Everybody
okay.
can improve their brand.
Yeah. I think we
Ex-
should work on Chris. I reckon if we put a bit of makeup on him, different hair.
Have you ever heard the old saying about lipstick and pigs?
Yes, I have actually. Thank you for coming in today. Let's start with you, Sharon. What's your story today?
So my story, I think, we were saying off air as well, it's a bit of an interesting perspective on the whole, the billionaires and the multimillionaires who decide to not indulge their children by leaving them all their money. The article recently, there was one out and about by with the Financial Review, though, looking at the legalities of it. Can you completely cut them out of the will? Which in certain parts of the country in Australia you can't. You need to provide in a certain way. But I think it's interesting the reasons behind it. They want their kids to make their own way in the world. They want them to get involved with the charity of the family and not just sit back and wait.
Is that because kids have changed? The kids of today are pretty much waiting for the parents to pay for everything?
I think so. I think it's a bit
Is that
more
the
acceptable
attitude?
now too for kids to sort of be an influencer or to be online or to be seen that they're making a living from just being themselves.
What do you think? What do you think about this? Do you think it's a good idea to make kids work for the inheritance?
I think it is. I think either as a lot of the parents are looking at it that they either need to get involved and get paid through being involved in the family's charitable interests, or there are other, mega wealthy who encourage the kids to start their own business, and the parents will invest, if there's a good return and if they're doing it, properly, but they're not just prepared to dish out the money and see the kids perhaps fall victim to,
Yeah.
Probably two
bad
things,
circle.
actually.
What do you reckon, Chris?
I've never been able to work out why people consider inheritance and why we actually have laws that argue that inheritance is a right. You talk about providing for the kids.
Yep.
Well, that's all well and good if they're under 18 and dependent. But as my late father once said, what we do for you when you're under 18, as much as anything, comes with a legal obligation. What we do for you after you're 18 comes purely for love. And I think that really applies.
Yeah, look,
so
I agree.
I'm always a bit surprised that the law does that.
Look, I think when someone passes away, which wasn't planned, obviously your children are going to inherit whatever you had if you and your partner were to go. But I do think there's a right that people think they have. And I know someone that's very close to me that has a property worth about $2 million, land property, and their son is a bum, doesn't want to work, goes off and plays in the band, enjoys himself, and he knows that when daddy and mummy go, he's going to be a very wealthy man.
Well, there's issues with that these days as well because people are living a lot longer.
And
they're
I suppose
selling
that
the
might
property.
be a problem for somebody who's bumming around in a band, taking lots of drugs.
Yes.
Maybe they won't outlive mum and dad.
But isn't that the thing? Parents are now selling the property, downsizing, and maybe enjoying their life a bit.
Well, and hopefully when we can all travel again, they will. But also, it's your money. You should be able to do whatever you like with it.
That's what annoys me. This expectation really does my... Why would you have an expectation when you're an adult? If your parents decide they want to leave you the money, great.
Yeah.
If they decide that they really like cats and dogs and they want to give it to the Dogs Refuge and the Cat Haven, good luck.
Yeah, look, I know of a story. I know we're going to wrap it up. There's a story about a guy that had $8 million, Italian man. He gave it to the RSPCA and a couple of other charities. His son came back from Sydney, took it to court, lost. It was done so well because they basically deserted the father for 5 years. They didn't help him when he was sick. He wrote it up so well. It's called a non-contesting will, and it's very hard because if the problem with judges are when they go to court and there's no paperwork, they have to use the Family Provisions Act, and they have to say, okay, you're my 3 kids. There's nothing left here to say what I should do. I'm just going to give you an equal share. If you leave documentation and information, the judge can then say, okay, Chris isn't to get anything because he was a naughty boy when he was 12. So on. But anyway, let's move on. They want us to move on. Chris, what's your story?
There was a very interesting story about anti-vaxxers who fabricated quotes that were attributed to an infectious diseases expert by the name of Christine McCartney and then spread them online. So basically what they did was completely and absolutely misquoted Professor McCartney. The only thing is, why would anyone be surprised about that? Were you surprised about that? Were you surprised about that?
I wasn't when I read it, really.
There's a lot of misinformation.
Misquoting something to suit their own end. What really bothers me now, we're going to have to do this, and I reckon we're going to have to do this for adults as much as anyone else. We're going to have to teach people how to look at something and say, is that or is that not a crock?
Yes.
And how do I tell? Because clearly people can't tell.
No.
The number of times somebody will post something online and say, look at this, this is outrageous.
Correct.
And I can't help myself, I reply back, yes, it is outrageous, if only it were true.
Exactly.
I had one only a couple of nights ago, Chris. They rang up on 6PR and they wanted to give out a website. That website, I went to it before I let it go to
Let me
air.
guess, it was a crackpot website.
Yeah, it is, but what they do is they want you to pay to have access to their research. And this guy,
their research.
They're telling people that the vaccinations are not good. So
Really?
that's what people are doing now.
Our parents and grandparents hearing all this nonsense, seriously, they must be
A
spewing
lot of
in their graves.
misinformation out there. Do you agree that maybe social media needs to be a bit more responsible as well and maybe toe the line in some way rather than spread a lot of misconceptions?
Because I was listening to some of the epidemiologists interviewed the other night. They're getting death threats.
Yeah, they are. Because they're not agreeing with the anti-vaxxers.
Yeah, they're getting death threats
here's the
for being a scientist. I was absolutely horrified.
Yeah, but why are people so determined to believe this? We have had developments over the years. We live, unlike our ancestors who had to contend with things like the bubonic plague, smallpox, diphtheria, tetanus and other nasty infectious fatal diseases too numerous to mention on this program. We are now developing vaccines, and we have vaccines, so you don't suffer these diseases.
And they have been tested.
And those vaccines they've been working on
Correct.
since the
2
SARS.
years. Yeah.
No, since SARS.
Oh, since the last one. Yeah, I get
in the early
They're not brand
2000s.
new.
The other thing
No,
is,
so, yeah.
who's got their smartphone here somewhere? Will
No,
somebody
we've
hold
all-
their smartphone? Pass me a smartphone.
Here, I've got one here.
I want to make
There
a
you go.
point here. Ta, thank you. Pass me the... See this? Smartphone. It's Fred's smartphone.
Yep.
It's got more power and more grunt
Yep.
than Apollo 11.
Correct.
And the reason why this has got more power and grunt than Apollo 11 is a little thing called technology.
Correct.
So what happens now, we have supercomputers that can
It
map the
is.
genome
Yep.
of a virus literally in hours.
Yep.
Within days,
I think
those same computers can develop a virus, which we then test over months, not years like we once used to.
I agree with you. And I think the best advice to give to people is don't swallow everything you hear from the anti-vaxxers. A lot of the anti-vaxxer stuff doesn't have any grounding to it. Like I said, I had one the other day and it led me to a website. I had to pay to get that research. If I have to pay to get vital information
from a
there's
nut job.
But there's a lot of that going around. There's a lot of people on social media that are having their phone with them. And the worst thing is when they tell us, the viewers, that they're going to stir up the police and they're going to cause trouble, and they're actually preempting the arrest. And then the police
Can I
do
invoke
arrest
the
them.
10cc
Bad luck.
clause?
Yep.
Do you know what the 10cc clause is? You're
Things
old
we do
enough
for
to
love.
know.
Oh, yes.
Load up, rubber bullets.
Yes. Jen,
think-
what have you got?
I think it's just sad when you hear the nurses talk about all the people in ICU in the eastern states who said all they wanted to be was vaccinated.
Correct.
Yes,
Correct.
okay.
I agree with you.
Okay, so I'm talking about scams because we know, and I know we were talking, you had Scam Watch on earlier in the show, but the scams have just become out of control. And you really have to be right on the money because they're now coming in as so many text messages.
Well, the SMS is saying your parcel's arriving, click on
Yes,
it, and then they get all your
it.
information.
My partner gets half a dozen of them
I do too.
a day.
I'd love to know who gives out our numbers.
It's
No, your
just-
numbers are in the... See, Jen's husband and you have your phone number in the public
In the
domain.
website.
Yes.
The thing that's off the
And,
website.
and
Yeah.
you can't do that. The telcos, big tech,
Yep.
and telcos, you could do something about this. And ACMA,
Correct.
if they were awake, when I was on 6PR, I had them on, they were talking about
I remember.
doing something about this 2 years ago.
Still not done.
And it's still not done.
It's all
It
about
can
money.
be done. I'll tell you one thing. Nobody should be able to acquire a VoIP number unless it's attached to an individual at a physical address.
Well, they've done that with SIM cards now. You can't just buy one without
Yeah,
your driver's
we don't
license.
have the American-style burner phones in this
Correct.
country. They need to apply that. And also, all these texts, this idea of spoofing numbers, so I can send a message to Jen using your phone number,
Yeah, I
that
agree.
should also be blocked.
It's
You should
wrong.
not be... There are legitimate reasons why somebody might need
right.
to send another number.
I agree.
But
Jen, tell us the rest of your
the
story.
technology, basically, we have the technology to stop a lot of these scammers.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's time we, as consumers, really started putting the pressure onto
Mm.
the telcos because it's getting out of control and people are losing thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. I think there's been about $300 million lost
And it's
this
more,
year.
More than we'll know because people are so embarrassed.
Embarrassed
They
about
won't
it.
tell
So
you.
They don't
number
tell
one,
you.
do not if you see
you
a
get
tech-
one of these weird messages,
if you get a weird message, if
delete
it's
them.
saying that there's a voice message or you have a parcel, ignore it.
Delete
because delete it. Because they will.
Have you all had one of these? In the
I haven't
last-
had one of those, but
We've
my
all had
partner's just
Yeah.
getting
I've had the
hundreds of
scam
them.
calls. I had one day which came and said, a very sombre voice, there is an important message from Human Services
got
Australia.
that.
And then it said...
And they're not called that anymore, by the way. They're
No,
called
no.
Services Australia.
No.
But they do.
They'll catch up, they'll
They
catch up.
confuse everybody. don't they?
Anyway, he came and said, this woman came on very sternly, said, you owe some back taxes. And I said, who am I? And there's this pause. She said, you owe back taxes. I said, well, who am I? You must know who I am if you believe that I owe back
they'll hang
taxes.
up.
So
They'll
who
hang
am I? And there's this 5-second pause and then click.
Bang.
Sharon, what do you think before we finish off with Jen?
I've had the ones with the voicemail attachment. I've had the fake renewals to Netflix. I get probably one a day at the moment, and like I say, but then it comes back to whose interest is it to stop them?
Crazy.
Who's going to invest the money
Just delete them.
to stop it?
Yeah.
Delete them.
Other than me.
Jen, did you want to wrap it up?
Well, also on Facebook, I noticed every time we've been running competitions on the Have a Go News Facebook page, we get people setting up a fake Have a Go News
Yep.
and requesting friend requests to our audience. Now, a business page will never ask for a friend
Correct.
request.
Correct.
And then they say, oh, you've won a prize, and then they want you to give the details.
But that gets down to Facebook. They could set up, especially
control
when it comes to business pages, they could set something up so people can't clone it.
Yes.
It can be there. And you know, I hate to say this because I'm not, I like to see people do stuff voluntarily, but in my opinion,
They need to be forced.
this needs to be regulated.
Needs to be
This has
regulation.
got to be built into the Telecommunications Act or the
Well,
Broadcasting
it's starting, aren't we?
Act.
We're starting with Facebook and defamation and all that sort of thing. I think look, the best thing to do with anything you don't trust, delete it. If it's that important, they'll write to you.
Exactly.
If it's a bank,
If
banks
you
will
really
never
do owe
write something
money,
innocent.
trust me, your creditors will find you.
Yeah.
Jen Merrigan,
Exactly.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Haveagonews.com.au.
Absolutely,
As
or our
always.
Facebook page.
Chris Silsley,
Just sits
broadcaster
there, yep,
extraordinaire. He'll always be back in a few weeks.
Better talk to Sharon,
And
she's
Sharon
got a
Atwood, of
story.
course, brand management.
Thank
How
you
do we
very
contact
much.
you, Sharon?
There's a website, brandetiquette.com.au. Love Facebook.
Thank you very much.
All right,
We'll take a
thank
break.
you.
We'll find out why it's important to have ice in your cocktails and alcohol after this. Yes.
Connect with The Couch online through Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
Welcome back to The Couch. Did you ever wonder why ice is so important when making cocktails? Well, we're just about to tell you. We've got a very special guest on the set. Over to you, Nisha.
Thank you, Fred. Joining us from Arctic Fox, a specialised ice making company, is Tom Carney. Welcome.
Howdy. Thanks for having me.
Absolute pleasure. Now, Tom, we've all had cocktails at the bar before, and given your extensive experience in the industry, you noticed a bit of a niche or a need for ice. Tell us about that.
Absolutely. I was working in bars for 10 to 12 years. I can never remember now. But yeah, there's a huge need for quality cocktail ice and things to go in old fashions and great Collins drinks. And it really does make a difference. So I jumped into that kind of business, and here I am with Arctic Fox.
Wonderful. I know that a lot of the times when I'm out and about with friends, we wonder whether we should just not get ice in our drinks because we're not sure where it comes from. So a question I have for you, and I'm going to ask in a moment, but I'm going to get you to talk through what we're making today first. if
Absolutely.
That's okay.
Yeah, well, I'll just get cracking into making it, shall I?
Yeah,
And explain
we'll
it as I
go
go?
into it, yeah.
Absolutely. So we're going to start off with some nice Australian vodka here, the Grain Shaker. Yeah. So it's a really good quality wheat-based vodka.
And what's the name of this drink?
Oh, sorry, it's the Backyard Snap.
Backyard Snap. That sounds very exciting. Good
Very
for summer.
nice. Yeah, very good coming into spring and summer. Great to sit out in the backyard, you know, with an ice block that will, you know, never melt. And
So now I have to ask you, because we're waiting to get out the gate
Sorry.
when we make it. I'm just very excited. But what is unique about your ice? I bet that's what everyone in the audience is thinking.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously it looks amazing because it's crystal clear and you know, it almost looks like you have a crystal in your drink. But it also it takes a very long time to dilute and it keeps it extremely cold. So by the time you finish your drink, it'll still be there ready for your next one to top up.
Wonderful. So we'll continue to go through the ingredients, and I'm sure I'll think of a way to get the secret ingredients out from you.
For sure. So we're just going to put a bit of Liberlu in here as well. This is an apple and chestnut liqueur, tiny little bit there. Just a bit of a nice kind of freshness.
Are all of these available from general liquor stores?
Yeah. So all of these products are available from like every kind of independent bottle shop that you can think of around the corner should have these, as well as obviously your big chains as well.
Wonderful. What have we got there?
A bit of rosé vermouth. So this is coming out of Adelaide Hills, making some great stuff.
Great. Supporting local, national market as well?
Indeed,
That's
yeah.
great.
Wherever local, and then if not national, and then if not further than that.
Very good priority order.
Indeed. So a bit of lemon juice here. This is obviously for the sourness. It's going to keep it balanced and freshen it up a little bit.
Now the measurement's really important, isn't it, when making cocktails?
Yeah.
Especially when it's your second or third?
Oh, absolutely. You'll definitely see some cocktail cowboys who will be, you know, doing a lot of that. But I hate to think of what the final product is at the end of it.
It's very measured like a chemist. I
Yeah,
like the way you do
absolutely.
it. Yeah.
You gotta get it bang on if you want the most delicious cocktail you can get.
This one looks a bit more creamy.
Yeah, so this is some almond cordial, otherwise known as orgeat. So that's just going to be a little bit of sweetener in there as well.
Lovely.
Now don't freak out. We've got some egg white.
Ooh, okay. This is interesting. What does this do to the cocktail?
Other
than give me protein?
Yeah, exactly, for the gains. a lot of times in milkshakes growing up, I had this. It keeps it nice and frothy and adds that really nice kind of creaminess.
And it's
adding
healthier,
cream.
right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you won't taste it at all. It just kind of adds this really nice consistency.
Good. Okay, yeah, that was on my mind whether it'd have an eggy taste. But
Yeah,
it's,
no, not at all.
Beautiful, and this looks
There
sticky.
we go. A little bit of that in there. And away we are. So I'm just going to shake this up for
Wonderful. Okay. You can do this because you put the egg whites in, right?
you. Yeah, absolutely. So it's going to be nice and frothy.
Beautiful. Now, with your ice as well, you talked about immersing something in your ice before, like flowers, or can you actually design your ice?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been doing that for a few bars around town at the moment. Some kind of custom jobs, some beautiful chrysanthemum flowers in there, as well as kind of citrus peels and things, all sorts. Lavender and rosemary leaves look very good in kind of long drinks as well.
Oh, fantastic. So let's put this all together, and I'll taste. And this is the exciting component. We're looking at the ice now.
All right, so we're just going to give it a little...
One more shake.
One more shake.
And quickly as well, while we're doing that, if someone wants to make contact with you in terms of a specialised, competing with that, specialised ice cube, how do they do that?
Yep, so best bet to get me on Instagram, which I think it should be coming up just about here.
Absolutely.
But it's Arctic Fox Ice Co. And ask for Tom, because that's me.
Tom Carney.
I'm on the Instagram down in the lab making it. So
beautiful.
Here
Okay,
we are.
let's serve the drink up. I'm excited to try this.
piece de resistance.
Especially the ice is going to make the difference, I think.
There we are.
And we can see this ice. Goodness, going to hold this up here. So very solid block of ice. It has a long duration, is that right?
Yeah,
Picks
so-
up the colour well too.
So that'll stay put. That will probably last this drink and the next. Keep it nice and cold. Stay nice and crystal clear.
Lovely. Backyard snap.
That's the one.
Wonderful. Okay.
We're just going to get a couple of...
Very eager
Sorry,
to try
I
this.
know, yeah.
Everyone's laughing. Okay, we've only got a few seconds to
Whoop,
go, so
sorry.
we're going to have to wrap up. I'm putting the pressure on, and
That's
you're doing
all
a
right.
very good job.
Just get that on there.
Fantastic.
For
So
yourself.
let's hold this up. Backyard snap. We'll try. Cheers. Thank you.
Cheers.
Very refreshing.
It's good.
Beautiful. Lovely. Thank
Excellent.
you. Now, one more time, where do we go to find out more about you?
So catch me on Instagram. It's Arctic Fox Ice Co.
Wonderful. Thank you for coming on the show, Tom.
Thank you for having
We'll
me.
look forward to seeing you again in the near future, and all our bar friends that come on, I'm sure, know you, but I'm sure
Yeah.
they'll be in touch as well.
Well, if you see it in any bars, that's me.
Excellent. Thank you, Tom, and all the best.
Easy.
We'll have you back on, I'm sure. If you've missed any of that at all, you can go to our Facebook page or thecouch.com.au. But for now, it's back to you, Fred.
Thank you very much, Nisha. Thank you very much to Tom. Don't forget, ice is very important. I've got some in here, very refreshing. We've cleared the set. We've given them enough time. That is it for the show today. Thank you to the wonderful crew. Thanks to all our control room, and thanks to you at home for watching. We'll see you next week. We'll go out with Club Fiesta. Keep smiling. Bye for now.
Jason Derulo, I can't read you. My sexy Mona Lisa. Can't tell if you gon' leave here or if you wanna stay. Girl, just ease up. Don't yell at my two-seater. You say that you a freaker, but fall asleep at 8. Sheesh, but you're perfectly dysfunctional. You crazy like my mama. Sheesh, girl, you killing me. But you won't see me with another lover, baby. You just a little loco, like boats in Acapulco. I'm just riding the wave, baby. You just a little loco, emotions like a yo-yo, but I love you that way. There's something about a crazy lover. I love you that way. Damn that body, that Versace. Did I win the crazy like my mama. Girl, you killing me, but you won't see me with another lover. Baby, oh, you just a little loco, like boats in Acapulco. I'm just riding the wave. Baby, oh, you just a little loco. Emotions like a yo-yo, but I love you that way, yeah. Girl, you perfectly. It's first you know you crazy like my mama.
Girl at the club. Let me tell you about her. She's a queen that lives like a king. Dale. Qué rica. Qué rico. Qué rica. Qué rico. Qué rica. Qué rico. Qué rica. This goes to the fellas. Advice, don't get jealous. These women, they get wild. And the friends, they get down. Yo te enseño el mío y tú me enseñas el tuyo. Take a couple shots y deja el orgullo. Take a couple shots y deja el orgullo. Take a couple shots y deja el orgullo. She's a queen that lives like a king.